All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to New Record Day. My name is Ron, Sound Clips with Commentary. Let me explain what we have going on here. We have the Elac debut reference towers, the model, I always forget the model on these. What are they? DFR52s. And we have, we kind of have a treat here today, guys. We are listening to the shit stack. So, Freya Plus, tubes are engaged, Bifrost 2 running from my MacBook Pro using Roon, and the Aegers in mono, because that's what we do here at New Record Day. Alrighty, fasten your seatbelts. Let's have some fun. Treble impressions. Let's go. Right out of the gate, they sound balanced on top. Yeah, quite a bit of detail on top, for sure, and at the same time, it's refined, meaning that it's balanced. So 2 tracks in, I'm already liking what I'm hearing in terms of treble response. It sounds good. If you guys remember from the previous sound clips with commentary that we've done, I like the ending of this track because there's a whole lot of really interesting things that happen, and what I'm listening for is, can I identify everything clearly? And in the case of these guys, I can. So we're off to a good start. So this track shows off 2 different things. It shows off scale, because those acoustics sound really big, especially in the room. I don't know if that's gonna translate in the recording, but they sound big, and depending on the speaker that I'm listening to, it's either gonna sound big or bigger. And that sounded pretty good. Certainly not in-game type presentation. It certainly showed up to the party, but I'm already suspecting that when we start getting lower in frequencies, we're gonna have to have some conversations about whether or not you need subs to get that punch. The second thing that I'm listening for on that track is when the acoustics stop, there is a reverb trail that happens, and then you get an idea of how big that room actually sounds. And in this example with the Elacs, they did just fine. So no complaints so far when it comes to the top end on these. I actually like it quite a bit. If you've been following along, this is the track that I like to use that I feel is mixed a little bit hot on top. So I feel like things are just a little bit crispy, and when you have a speaker that is tilted or forward or just flat out bright, this track doesn't work. It sounds like a mess, and when you have a speaker that is ultimately balanced, you still are able to get the clarity out of the track, but it also exposes that it's a little bit hot, and you can hear that and identify it, and that's exactly what I heard with these. So let's just get to the point. treble impressions, top and extension with these, good job, Andrew. I like the way that the top end of these speakers sound. So let's move into upper mid-range and see what we have to work with. This track is certainly not the end-all be-all best recording ever by any stretch, but that's why I like it, because I want to find out if we start playing grungy electric guitars, how are these speakers going to respond, and can you rock out with these without entering listening fatigue? And that sounded fine. I feel like this is the type of speaker that when it comes to upper mid-range, I'm not hearing anything that would make me suspicious of, wow, we've got, you know, a tilted upper mid-range, or there's something funky going on, or perhaps there's some stored energy in the drivers and things sound, yeah. And I'm starting to hear some ringing or things of that nature. If anything, I feel like that track was pretty relaxed and chill, which is a good sign in the sense of you will probably be able to get away with listening to a lot of not so perfect recordings on these, and you'll be fine. Interesting, the staging on these is starting to show off a little bit, that those horns had quite a bit of presence for sure, but the localization of the horns was really good, really good. I could definitely get some kind of a depth or almost a layering effect of the horns and the organ and the other instruments, the percussive instruments that we're playing. So yeah, that sounded great. No commentary needed. I had no problem with that. All right, so our electric guitar player is back, and he's back where he should be, which is behind the speaker over by the lamp, jamming out, which is awesome. And again, upper mid-range, we seem to have a decent amount of presence, right? So it seems to me like I got to do some measurements at the mics. In fact, I'll do that a little bit later, but it sounds to me, in my opinion, that the upper mid-range seems to be kind of relaxed. And that's not a bad thing, it's just an observation that maybe that would lend itself to a loudspeaker that is going to be a bit more forgiving on stuff that can often sound somewhat nasty. That's the best way that I can say it. So this is another track that is certainly not the best recording ever. They have a whole lot of stuff that is just packed together. And what I'm listening for in a loudspeaker is, can I pick apart the mess? Can I hear everything that is somewhat congested and still hear each instrument with its own voice? And in this example, I can. So upper mid-range, maybe just a little bit a little bit relaxed. Not as much presence as some speakers that I've heard. Not a bad thing. This is not a negative. It's an observation that perhaps this would be a loudspeaker that's going to forgive some upper mid-range content, meaning distorted electric guitars, things of that nature. And as you turn these up, that might lend itself to a more enjoyable listening session. All right, the almighty mid-range. Here we go. Shout out to my friend Mike Lundy. He mentioned in the sound clips with commentary that we did for the XLS Encore that the instrument that we're listening to, which I thought was bagpipes, no, it's not bagpipes. It is a 10 whistle, which that's cool. Thank you so much, Mike. I appreciate it. And in that track, as I'm listening to these acoustics and that 10 whistle, what I want to hear is that thing jumping out of the mix? Is it punching out of the mix? And in the case of these guys, it does. So that is a good sign. Yeah, so a couple of different things on this track. First of all, you've got a bowling alley of soundstage. I mean, this track is deep. And thank you guys for the previous comments of recognizing the hand clackers, as I called them. They're clasinets. Am I saying that right? I'm probably getting it wrong again. But hand clackies, clasinets, they're so precise and they're holographic, they pop right out of the mix, and you have a whole bunch of really interesting instruments going on in this, and there is layering and there is depth that you can hear with open baffle loudspeakers like the Spatial Sapphires. And what I want to hear is, with a design like this, can we get that same layering effect? And if not, how close are we to that layering type effect? And I would say, unfortunately, it's just not as good as what I've heard with open baffle loudspeakers, but you still have a lot of depth that you can hear into the music. There's just not as much of this layering effect as I've heard with some of the open baffle designs that I love so much, namely the Sapphires and then my NX Audicas. So, good. And look, let's get this part right. Open baffle is not everybody's cup of tea. So if you want to know, are these at least showing up to the party and not being embarrassed? The answer is yes. They're showing up to the party. They are able to present a lot of depth and a lot of clarity on this track, and that is good. All right, so with this one, again, quite a bit of depth, quite a bit of clarity throughout the mid-range. These are not paper cone drivers, they're aramid fiber. I think I'm saying that right, aramid fiber drivers. And yeah, I am getting texture and tone in the mid-band, for sure, and that's a good thing. I love this track. You've got those congas, bongos, whatever they are, quick hand slaps, and being able to hear every single one of them combined with the rest of the music with perfect clarity is what I'm listening for. And these did it without any problems. So far we're moving in the right direction with these loudspeakers pretty much across the board. It'll be interesting as we start getting into the lower frequencies. I have a feeling we're going to have some conversations about subs, but mid-range and above with these, so far, I'm happy with what I'm hearing. I love all of these weird effects that are happening, probably being played by keys, and then you have these lower piano notes that are just drifting off over here. I gotta say, in terms of staging, sound staging, the ability to kind of just vanish in a room and give you a performance, these are doing a good job with that, and that sounded great. So we have made it through top end extension, upper mid-range, and mid-range without many complaints with these guys. Let's go ahead and dive into mid-bass. All right, so before we dive into mid-bass, I took the time to stop and set up my measurement rig, and I took 2 measurements from the microphones, so I want to go ahead and show you what we have to work with here on screen. You can see that. And yeah, these are dropping off earlier than what I would have expected. These are dropping off, at least in my room, around 50 hertz. And I would have expected a little bit lower response, lower frequency response. And another thing that is worth noting is there appears to be a dip. Oh, I forget already where it's at, but around, I think around 200 to 300 hertz that you can see. I'm going to have to figure out, is that the crossover point in the speaker or is it my room? I don't know yet. I will find out as we, work through the review. And then another thing that's worth noticing is that I think I was right about the upper mid-range. Is it does seem to kind of have this gradual bowl in it where it's not a perfectly straight line. You have just kind of a shallow little bowl there. And yeah, I'm hearing the way this speaker measures so far, except for this weird dip that we're seeing at 200 or 300 hertz, wherever that is. I need to investigate that and find out what the heck is going on, and I will. But mid-bass, here we go. I'll say this, with the bass that these are giving you, it does sound good. So if we're talking about, good is not a great description word, texture and tone. So am I hearing the clarity in the mid-bass? The answer is yes, which is good. I'm not hearing just mid-bass notes. I'm actually hearing the attack of the actual instrument, whether it's a drum, bass guitar, so on and so forth. What I'm hearing is nice. In other words, if you are concerned about texture and tone in the bass, and you know already, yeah, you're going to have to get a sub into the mix to hit down below 50, then we're still fine. There's quite a bit of body in the mid-bass as well. You have that kind of rich body, which a lot of audiophiles like. kind of just showing off that you can get away with listening to a wide variety of music on these. Certainly not my cup of tea, but it does show you that you can move these in different directions and get away with it. Yeah, so again, paying attention to the congas and the bongos and the body of the drum hits. Am I able to hear it? Am I able to hear it? And does it have depth? Does it have the body that I'm looking for in the mid bass? And in this example, it does. So that track sounded quite good. Yeah, so that actually sounded quite nice. I'm paying attention to the electric bass. Am I able to hear each and every single note in the electric bass without any problem? And yes, I can. Am I able to identify the conga that is playing at the same time? Does it sound like it is smeared at all with the bass guitar? And the answer is no. So let's go ahead and move on to bass. You're going to need some subs. All right, so on this track, certainly again, not my cup of tea when it comes to music, but it is showing that you can get away with electronic music with these guys and they'll do just fine. I'm not sure this is a question, so let's just stay calm as I say this. I'm not sure if I was actually hearing some cabinet resonance. It sounded to me like some of those frequencies were getting a bit woofy sounding, kind of like a woof, 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 and it sounded to me as if there was kind of a buzzy sort of a sound that I was hearing. I don't know if that was cabinet resonance or not. So it's worth mentioning. As I trek through the review and spend more time with these, I'll probably be able to figure that out. Look, this is where I'm kind of in the hot seat. That track, it has some lower content, certainly below 50, that we've heard in some of these other rigs that we've been using, and I'm missing that. Gosh darn it. I'm missing some of the impact, some of the heft and weight, and so I think that it's important that I struggle through these moments, because if I don't, and you think, hey Ron, if I just get these towers, am I good to go from top to bottom resolution? The answer is, so far, no, you're not. If you want to hear the lowest of the lows, you're going to need to rely on some subs. So getting these towers is not a one and done type situation if you want all of it. For the bass that I am hearing, I do have texture and tone. I had incredible clarity in the bass, and that's a good thing. I just wish that we were dropping a bit lower. Yeah, so let me just go ahead and sum this up. Texture and tone, we got that, and I love that. Lots of clarity in mid-bass and bass. I just wish that we were digging a little bit lower, and you're gonna need some subs. All right, female vocals, and away we go.
I don't wanna be loved by you, be loved by you. I don't need to be hurt or rescued, not by you. Not so close, you're eating my space. Don't inhale so much, you're choking me. Oh, everything you think you own or have the right to isn't yours, not at all, so let go.
That sounded great. I have no complaints with that. Let's go ahead and check out this next one.
I will get close to your heartache if you want to open your door. I'm feeling kinda lost when your mind is hiding whatever that is choking your chest. I can see it in your eyes that you're shaking 'cause you're holding it back. Baby, you'll make up your mind now. I'm here by your side. So let it all out of me. Let it all out of me. Oh, I will hold you in the dark, make you forget about what's wrong. Let it all out of me.
Man, I'm just gonna say this. Female vocals on these, no complaints. Both of those tracks sounded really good. I had lots of clarity of the vocalist, and in both situations it sounded very holographic, surprisingly holographic, to be frank with you, and it just sounded gorgeous. That was surprisingly good on both of those tracks. Let's go ahead and try male vocals.
You tell me you're scared. You tell me you're weak. But I know you're stronger than what you think. And I know it's hard. It's rough, but we'll make it through, and I'll back you up.
That sounded nice. Let's go ahead and check out this next one.
Life is a winding road, no telling where it goes. Driving through days and nights, won't stop for traffic lights. And I really wanna know if I'll ever figure out where the road goes. keep on searching for my highs. You can say I lost my mind, I will keep on holding my head high, even if the sky is falling down.
You know, it's interesting, knowing that from what we saw in that frequency response, that we have this, you know, dip that we're dealing with at 200 hertz. And granted, that's from the microphone position. I didn't measure from the listening position, so it could be it will be, mark my words, it will be completely different than what we measured there. But those vocals actually had quite a bit of body. And so, I have some investigating to do. Nevertheless, female vocals and male vocals on these, I had no problems at all. I think that in both of those examples, these actually sounded quite good. So, yeah, that was a lot of fun. A bit of a mixed bag, right? I mean, we have top end extension, upper mid-range, and mid-range, all good. Upper mid-range, I think, is a bit relaxed. We can see that in the response so far. I got to do some more accurate measurements to find out whether or not it's actually linear or if there's a little bit of a dip there. But either way, what I heard, so we're talking about my opinion, is it does sound kind of relaxed in the upper mid-range, which means that you're probably going to be able to play a lot of stuff that isn't perfectly recorded and get away with it. And mid-range sounded fantastic. Mid-bass sounded great in terms of texture and tone. And depending on your definition of where mid-bass ends and where bass begins, 50 hertz and below, you're going to need some subs. So, yeah, a lot of fun. Let me know what you guys heard and what you think. Comments down below. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. And we'll talk to you guys in the next video. And we will see you guys in the next video.